In 2100, there will be roughly 11 billion people on Earth. Feeding these 11 billion people in a sustainable way is a major challenge that we absolutely have to get right. Unfortunately, our current food system is physically unable to achieve this. Luckily for us, the transition and groundbreaking disruption of the entire global meat market is already on its way. Let's check it out. Hello world! This is the Impact Investing Show, where we think and learn about how to save the world and improve the lives of all conscious creatures by acting today and investing into the future. I'm Leonard Shelter. Welcome to the show. The demand for meat has more than tripled over the past 50 years. But meat is also the main driver of food-related greenhouse gas emissions, water use, land use, fertilizer use, antibiotic resistance, and many more negative consequences of agriculture. Not to mention the moral atrocities us humans inflict on animals in factory farms and elsewhere every day. So let's have a look how big this market actually is to understand its impact on the world and to also get an idea of the addressable market for cultured meat, which is about to disrupt this entire sector from the ground up and turn conventional animal agriculture into a tiny niche industry within a few decades at most. This is a $1.2 trillion market disruption, and I can't wait for it. Let's get into it. Before we can talk about the global meat market, we need to get some definitions straight. Today, we are going to talk about meat as in everything that is not living in the water. Fish and other sea life is a whole other level in terms of insanity, and the numbers are just on different scales. So there will be a separate video about fish production as well. Let's start by getting a feel for the global meat market. In 2018, the world produced 340 million tons of meat. In 1961, just 60 years ago, most of that meat, almost 70%, came from Europe and North America. However, Asia increased their meat production roughly 15 times until today, so that nowadays around 45% of meat production happens in Asia. You can see in this chart, unsurprisingly, China takes the #1 spot of meat-producing countries in the world with an almost unbelievable increase over the past 60 years. The numbers of animals slaughtered each year are even more staggering. Us humans slaughter a whopping 72 billion animals for meat every year. That does not include animals used for egg or milk production that are slaughtered but not used for meat, and it does not include fish or other sea life. Over 95% of those slaughtered animals are chicken. For some scale, we are about 7.8 billion humans on Earth. That means for every human we slaughter 9 animals each year. And this average number is for all children, infants, vegans and vegetarians, and also your grandmother who eats 2 slices of sausage when she feels really hungry. Props to all grandmas. Another startling fact is the amount of livestock on Earth. If we kill 72 billion of them each year, you might think we should have many more than that alive at any point in time. However, there are only about 30 billion of them. That is mostly because chicken are slaughtered before they even reach 1 year of age, usually around 6 weeks after birth. To give some perspective on these numbers, 340 million tons of meat produced per year is 43.6 kilogram or 96 pounds in stupid units per person per year. That includes, again, everyone. So it's a lot more than 43 kilograms per year for the average person living in an industrialized nation. In fact, how much meat do you eat per year? Take a guess. Here you have meat consumption per capita, measured in kilograms per year versus GDP. The x-axis, GDP, is a logarithmic scale. The chart does not include fish and other seafood, and the data is from 2017. So for the US, it's 124 kilograms or 273 pounds per person per year. That's a big pile of meat. And keep in mind, this is still an average number, including all the salad eaters. Germans consume 88 kilograms per year, Chinese about 60, Mexicans 65 kilogram, and in India it's only 3.8 kilogram, probably due to the many vegetarians in the country. India actually has the lowest meat consumption on average, even lower than poorer African countries like Sierra Leone and Ethiopia. Now that are some impressive numbers, but what about the actual market size? The global meat industry had revenues of $1.2 trillion in 2019, according to a Research and Markets report. Other reports estimate in the same ballpark. To give you an idea of how big this $1.2 trillion market is, there are only 17 countries in the entire world with a GDP of more than $1 trillion. There are also only 5 companies in the world with a market cap larger than $1 trillion. There is also a meat substitute market valued at $4.5 billion in 2019, projected to reach $8.8 billion in 2027. So for 2019, the meat substitute market was 266 times smaller than the global meat market. And then there's the cultured meat market, valued at $1.6 million in 2021. That's 0.00013% of the global meat market. So where's the big disruption, you ask? It's right underneath that like button that you wanted to press anyway, so why not do it now? So anyways, the big disruption. Here's a bold claim. Almost the entire conventional meat market will be obsolete in a couple of years. By a couple of years, I mean a decade or two at most. Let me explain. The global meat market had a compound annual growth rate of 2.4% from 2015 to 2019. That is still growth, but it's meager at best. The cultured meat market, however, is expected to grow to $2.7 billion in 2030. That would be a growth rate of 97%, almost a doubling every year. Now this number of 2.7 billion in 2030 is extremely conservative in my opinion. That would mean that cultured meat would still only serve far below 1% of the global meat demand, and that is without factoring in any growth of the meat demand overall. That's just ridiculous. Now we are very bad at grasping exponential growth into the future. So I made a simple chart to visualize what happens when you move at 2.4% growth rate and your opponent moves at 97.8% from the same starting point. This is a massive oversimplification, of course, but here you go. This is just 10 years. You're gonna get left behind eventually, even if you have a massive head start. Quite simply, the technological advantages of cultured meat can hardly be overstated. It is simply better in every important criteria imaginable, and it's just getting started. Cultured products will still blow everything out of the water in terms of efficiency that we have ever produced before. It's not called the next agricultural revolution for nothing. It will absolutely transform every aspect of how we produce food, how we deliver it, and how we think about it. In the end, the better technology will prevail. That was true for phone over mail, cellular over landline, car over horse, battery electric car over internal combustion engines. And it will hold true for cellular agriculture over conventional agriculture. So, are you ready for this $1.2 trillion market disruption? Do you know the science and the products? Do you understand the vision? Do you know where and how to invest? If you don't, or if you just want to stay up to date with everything cellular, stick around for future episodes because that's exactly what we are going to talk about on this channel. See you in the next one.